I see it your way. No way, gasoline and propane, more flames. Oh no, no more snowflakes.
We can all get along, but there's no stopping. Ay, everybody's wrong, that's a real problem. Ay, they don't want to hear it, but they still talking. Ay, soon enough, we running out of options. Ay, this ain't gonna end till it's in the coffin. Ay, we ain't gonna be friends till we try to squash it. Ay, I don't know how we can make amends or we drop it. Snowflakes melt when it's hot, kid.
Y'all are so fake. Oh no, the forecast said that there'd be snowflakes. Whoa, you can make us see it your way. No way, gasoline and propane, more flames. Oh no, no more snowflakes.
Welcome to HeartMind Expressions. This is Amaria Sweet, and I'm accompanied by Alex Skillman and Soma Clear. And just a few plugs really quick while we are here. Just want to do a shout out and a thanks to Soma Fusion, as well as WEBTV+, C4OC Radio Networks, and of course our Red Radio Las Vegas. Then there's also, if you would check out Savvy Clothing line, is fitwear for women, empowering women of all ages and sizes. Savvy.com/Soma Fusion. So that's SAVVI.com/Soma Fusion. So how are you guys doing? I've been working like crazy, coming down the mountain right now, so I don't have my camera on, but we're back together just a little bit.
Yeah,
How you guys?
good to see you. We're glad to have you back, Amaria.
Doing great to hear your wonderful voice again. We're holding the fort while you were out doing things that need to be done.
Oh, it's been crazy. I had COVID 3 weeks ago again, and then just been working my little tail off Oktoberfest, so it's been fun.
Oh, it must have been shaved. Did the tail shave off after a while? I know most people don't have a physical one.
Looks like you were having fun. Are you guys having a carving pumpkin contest?
Oh, we're just having a blast. No, just selling beer. Lots of beer.
Lots of
Yeah.
beer. Okay. Yeah, with all the cold and stuff that's going on, I can imagine.
Oh, we've got lots of snow out here in the Rocky Mountains. It's beautiful.
Just no yodeling allowed, right?
Oh, no.
We have to be careful with that.
just be careful when you know the elevations with the snow. You don't want to start an avalanche.
Right. Oh, shoot. The Bavarians are actually pretty cool. We've been listening to them do their yodeling and their little trumpet things or whatever they're called. Those really long horns that they play on the mountains. Those are pretty cool.
Yeah, well, I just saying. I mean, you know, you just want to do more than one ways to show that gravity exists. That could result in something difficult.
Yeah. Oh shoot.
Oh, well, you got sick. I'm dealing with a small little cold right now.
Oh, no fun. No fun.
So I got some wonderful remedies I've been using, and luckily I'm not I basically got this thing all zapped up. It's just the matter of getting yourself reoriented afterwards.
Right.
Yeah, the forbidden stuff that they don't want you to know actually works. So, you know, whenever you get any of these illnesses,
Yeah.
and it's really sad that they're doing everything they can to silence it, ban it, and censor it.
There's actually one that's not talked about very often, but my dad, he's a doctor of osteopathy, so this is coming from a doctor. Quercetin, Quercetin. It's a food flavonoid and colorant. It's kind of a yellow color, and it penetrates the cell. And when you put zinc with it, it actually helps you to fight viruses, bacteria, anything that would basically hit your immune system. So it's a really good daily with your zinc. to get basically it delivers the zinc into the cell more effectively. So you're getting a better dose of your zinc. So,
Wow.
That sounds awesome. I've never heard of
I
that.
love it. I've been
I
taking
know.
it every day. The other one, the IBERMECTIN, I do take once a week because it does deworm you, deparasite you, and from what I heard, there's a certain poke that has a couple different parasites in it. So yeah, you definitely want to make sure you're dewormed. That's some pretty crazy stuff. But definitely
Now,
take all precautions. And I think even a heavy metal detox could hurt you.
mhm.
Oh yeah.
I know.
those
I
are
know
fun.
personally, so being having a cold right now. Elderberry seems to be working very well,
Oh yes, I love the
and
elderberry.
Yeah, love
I've been
elderberry.
using, well, obviously lots of water,
Yes,
elderberry, and echinacea.
absolutely. Anything that you can do to boost that, I mean, this is good.
Yeah, and you can also use reishi mushroom. So
Absolutely.
Well,
Well, there's also a cordyceps mushroom, which is really great too. It helps with brain function. I really love that one.
yeah, so yeah, those are things that are super important to keeping you going.
so what's on the itinerary for today?
And then today we're going to be talking about the spiritual side of things episode. So, I thought maybe we should just kind of start from top to bottom. The main thing about the spiritual is the mind. And of course, the big thing that opens everything up through us would be the pineal gland. So, Amaria, what do you think when you think of pineal gland? You want to talk a little bit about the point of the pineal gland, what's special about it?
Sure. I've been learning a lot about just my own body and brain. But the pineal gland, it's really kind of cool. It's kind of an energetic portal that our body has in the brain. It's got crystalline structure in it. And so when you hear about people having their pineal glands calcified, like the fluoride, there's other different types of drugs that unfortunately people are given by well-meaning physicians. I don't think every physician is dark and trying to hurt people. I think most physicians and nurses go in well-meaning. But a lot of the drugs out there, unfortunately, it's like it solidifies it. And so all of those wonderful crystals that we want vibrating in our pineal gland, they can't. They're just kind of there. And so when your pineal gland is calcified, you lose the ability to project as much or have as I guess a quality psychic experience. When you decalcify, those crystals are able to vibrate more. You've got fluid in the pineal gland. You want it to be kind of mobile. And when you open that pineal gland, you actually feel inside of your brain, you can actually feel a sensation. My son, I've even asked, because I like to hear, what does it feel like for you? And like for me, I can feel something kind of in the third eye area, and it goes back inside the skull. And so of course, because it is in the center brain. And sometimes it goes so much that I can actually feel almost an opening at the top of my crown. And when I get into Tantra, which it's not, some people think, oh, Tantra, it must be about sex. It's not always about sex. Tantra is using your whole Kundalini in energy work. And so that's basically breathing in. I would start at my feet, bring it up to my root, feel the energies, be aware of the body, and then just keep bringing it up to each chakra, your energy that you're bringing, like tighten up your muscles, focus the feeling in whichever chakra that you're bringing in. So like you kind of tighten and then release and then bring it back up and then release, and do your breathing into it, kind of your yoga nidra, which is the slow breathing. It would be the in through your nose. So your exhale is going to be longer than your inhale. And so that's going to be taking your body from sympathetic dominance or kind of that fight or flight, stressed out feeling, and it's going to upregulate your thyroid, downregulate your adrenals, and so it's going to level you out and make you feel more relaxed. And so you're going to want to just pull up those energies until you can feel up into your head. And my own personal experience, and I've heard similar from others, excuse me, that have activated and learned how to use their the Hara line or the Kundalini or whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of different ways to call it. You'll actually feel energy. It spins. And so the root and the crown are actually connected. You can feel kind of it goes counterclockwise and it makes a cone shape. You can actually feel it like come out, and it goes all the way through the body and then down between the legs, and it opens up that cone. And then your other chakras come out from the body and they go clockwise. And so that would be your third eye, your throat, heart, your navel, and your excuse me, my brain fart. The sacrum, and all of those chakras, it's like it goes through your chest into your back, or through the belly into the back, and it comes out, and it still makes that kind of cone. You'll have kind of a central vortex in the body, and then it cones out. And so that's one thing that I've noticed, I felt, and it's really interesting. There's actually CIA documents that verify how the chakras work, how the Kundalini spins, the Hara lines. And when you actually can incorporate your full system with your pineal gland, it's the most electrifying feeling. It's really cool. You can actually feel magnetic pull. You can feel kind of tingling. It does and can get orgasmic. You can get kind of it's a different kind. It's not like a sexual orgasm, but there's like a bliss orgasm that your whole body does. And sometimes you're kind of like, huh, and you'll kind of jerk or twitch, but you feel like kind of tingly. Like I'll have chills a little bit. I'll feel really good. It's very ecstasy feeling, like really calming, really, there's a lot of happiness, a lot of joy, and you can feel your heart expand. And so, I mean, I guess I kind of went in depth where you just asked about the pineal gland, but in reality, our body is a system. And so we want to make sure that all parts of our system are working, so that our electric, our magnetic portions are working. There's also axiotonal lines that run through the body from each finger to each toe, and there's 12 of them. And so that's just a little bit of it on some energy side of it. As a energy worker, I do grid work, and so corporal grid work or body grid work is another thing that I do, and I can actually see the 12 different energy bodies of a person, and if there's something that's missing, something that's off, then I work with different entities, positive, of course. I always lay down the foundation and the intention that, only 100% light, love, and whatever the intent that's going for that person, whatever they're wanting to heal in their body or their energies or whatever, we're like, okay, let's make that intention. Let's call in these entities to basically help. And we are correcting the spin, correcting the energies, correcting the magnetic pull, correcting the electrical. That's the masculine, feminine, the divine masculine, feminine, or the rod and staff. The rod is the electric, that's the masculine, and the staff is the feminine, and that's the magnetic. And so counterclockwise female, clockwise male, and that's on the different spins. So anyway, that's kind of in a nutshell. It's like, how do you explain it quickly?
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, what is a Kundalini, though? Is it sort of a highway of information, spiritual highway of information, kind of for your body?
In a way, you'd think of like the Hara or the central line, Kundalini. It's going to go up your spine, and so that's where you're going to feel most of the tingling sensations, is in the spine. And I notice whenever I do get a really good Kundalini activation, you can actually feel it spin up the spine. And that's that from the root to the crown that I was talking about, where it feels like it goes up a vortex. It's just like you can feel it. And when it hits the heart chakra, and a lot of us who have wing chakras, you can feel on the back of your scapulas and up into the neck and shoulders, you'll kind of get a chill. And that's where it also kind of knocks you. Like you'll get a physical convulsion, just kind of like a and everyone that I've talked to that's had these experiences, it's similar. Like they're just like, what's up with the butt? So it's kind of weird, but the body neurology, I guess, just responds to it. And even as long as, because it's what, I guess it was 2018 whenever I
reactivated my Kundalini. Sometimes I still get involuntary activations or things that'll happen. It'll come up and like, hey. So
does it have a duty, or is there a point of having it?
you know, that's a really good question. I think just energetically, this is just my own opinion because I've been doing my own research on it. I mean, I'm sure there's other people that have different opinions or beliefs on what the Kundalini does or what the chakras do. Some people believe that they were put there kind of like on this prison planet to keep us like separated in our parts. And other people think, no, it's not what it is. It is an energy center. So and we don't have just those chakras. We've got other chakras. We got palm chakras. We have chakras in our face. There's a palate chakra right here. It's called you can put your tongue up in it when you're meditating. It's called the Bhaga Yoga. And it's just the roof of your mouth, right behind your teeth. You'll feel your roof of your mouth dip slightly. Most people have that. And that's where you place your tongue when you're doing Bhaga Yoga, when you're doing the deep breathing. And somehow it activates that. I don't understand it enough as to why. It's just, I've learned how to do it and I can feel a sensation when I do Bhaga. Sometimes maybe if I'm feeling stressed out, then I'll just stick my tongue up in that and go, and then that just, it kind of clears things. And so I think the chakras are energy stations similar to our planet, where we have different ley lines and different grid lines where there's stronger energy points, stronger electricity, stronger magnetism. And so where we're part of Mama Gaia, we're part of this earth, we were born on this planet. I think that our bodies are made similarly. If you look at like how brain neurology looks like, it's got all these beautiful little bursts of neurons that have little tails that spin off and they attach to other neurons, and that's when you're building things, you're learning things, you're building neurology. And you can look at different planets that have similar aspects, like trying to think some of the ones that are like the universe actually looks like brain neurons.
Yes.
Trees
Yeah.
with their roots look like the lungs. We've got different fruits and vegetables. For instance, the avocado looks a lot like your womb or the testicles, and so the sexual organs. You've got nuts that you eat. A lot of them are wrinkled up like the brain. And so one of the things that I learned as I've studied nutrition and a lot of holistic, just for my own self and my family, is your food looks like the organs that you're going to eat. So if you're needing different nutrients, think about, what kind of stuff have I fed my brain? Have I fed my lungs? Have I fed my heart? Have I fed my body? And, bringing in the energy, drinking plenty of water, keeping ourselves healthy, with, electrolytes, our magnesium, potassium, D3, or, calcium, whatever the things, that we're needing. All of that stuff ties together with these chakra points all over our bodies. What is it? Acupuncture, acupressure. They're putting needles in different various ley lines of the body or chakra points of the body. And so it's really fascinating how similar our body is put together to our planet and also our universe. It's really, really cool. It's really beautiful.
One other point I wanted to add was that you were talking about how there is a microcosm and a macrocosm to things. Is when you look at how the structure of an atom is like, you have your protons, your neutrons, and your electrons, and that electron cloud and how all of these things rotate on them. It looks very similar to like how a solar system is. It's the nucleus in the center, and everything else is just revolving around that, just as if it was the atomic structure.
That's so cool.
That's
So,
awesome.
and that is basically what the phrase "as above, so below."
I like that.
Because even when you deal with any type of travel, space travel, naval travel, they're all dealing with very similar forces. you have the water of the land, of the ground, and then you have the water of the sky. Everything kind of works very similarly. There are similar rules that are followed, and it's not just here, but it's elsewhere.
Right.
So
That's
thought
an
I'd just
awesome
hop on that real
perspective.
quickly.
Yeah,
I love that.
that's an awesome perspective. I never thought that way before. Um, so the foods that we eat, I wanted to touch back on that. I'm assuming that the foods that we eat, the colors and stuff, also correspond with our chakras. You know, if you eat red, it deals with, you know, your root chakra and so forth.
Right. Right. And we definitely want to be eating the rainbow as often as we can. I don't know if we can always do it every single day, just because sometimes the price of food is a little rough for a lot of people, and it does
Yeah.
get really expensive to do that. But you can, like, if you eat a salad every day, maybe you keep some raspberries and some blueberries on hand and some nuts. I like to do that with my the dark greens. I don't like the light greens. Like iceberg lettuce to me is just a junk lettuce. It's not, I don't consider that food because there's really not a lot of nutrients in it. But I
Go for
love
romaine.
right. I like
Romaine.
the romaine. I love the kale. I love spinach. That's a big one for me. You got to watch spinach though if you have clotting problems or if you're diabetic, because I'm trying to remember what's the name of the substance that's in it, but it can actually affect if you're taking insulin or things for diabetes. And so you got to be careful and to talk to your physician about like spinach or cruciferous vegetables, which would be, you know, you can eat them cooked, but a lot of people cannot eat them raw. So if you have leaky gut or again, diabetes, or even I think there's another, like if you're on a low sodium diet, which I don't agree with a lot of those, but you know, I'm not a physician, so I can't tell you what to do with your body. But I understand that, you know, if you have correct sodium, not the stuff that's been heat treated, but like raw salts, you know, don't overdo it. And then you're eating, you're keeping your body as balanced as you can, then it definitely helps with your electrolytes, with your brain function, with your body function, your corticosteroid productions, and then just, I mean, breaking down basic nutrients. And so, but I like back to the salad thing, having different colors of fruits and vegetables, maybe having some radishes on hand, some onion, whatever, and then just pile it on as much color as you can. And if you have one of those a day, you're eating the rainbow.
Yeah.
That's doable, you know, a little
And
handful.
seaweed is a big thing for our family. We're huge seaweed people. Whether
So good
it's
for
the
your
seaweed
thyroid.
salad that, you know, straight seaweed, the wet stuff, you know, that kind of looks sort of noodly.
Oh
And
yeah,
then
I like
there's
those.
and then there's of course the version that's kind of dried paper
Right.
that is used in sushi and stuff like that, in different soups and things. To kind of the miso soup
Yum.
combo and
If we're
stuff,
talking,
especially during
if we're
winter.
talking,
So yeah, it is we have to do everything we can to stay away from the processed food, but so things that you can do to open the pineal gland. I know one of the things though um that you can use is scapefish, you know, oil that actually, you know, you can get those you know, I'm not a doctor or anything either, but we have been using scapefish oil for opening pineal gland. It's kind of almost like a psychedelic type of drug. You take it twice a day. So that actually clears the pineal gland. What other ways do you suggest to help clear the pineal gland or open it?
Some of my favorite ones that I've researched and I'm actually actively using is fulvic and humic minerals and acid, the fulvic acid with the humic acid and the fulvic minerals. It's it turns black. It's really interesting. There's different brands. Some people use the Boo brand. I don't like the network marketing ones because you're having to do your sell so much to make something, and I think that it's overpriced when they do that. I like simple. So if you go to like swanson.com or Amazon or something, just type in fulvic humic minerals. And you want to get liquid. Like a lot of people think, oh, I'll get some tablets, vitamins. Don't ever get tablets. My dad said that one way you can tell is how much you're going to basically absorb in your body. Take one of your vitamin tablets, put it in a cup of vinegar for 30 minutes, and that's all your body's going to take. The rest of it's going out in your poop. So you want to, liquid is the best, liquid and oil. And then of course, ground up, you'll see it like in the little capsules. And I just stay away from pills. I won't even touch them. If it shakes and it sounds like a tablet or a pill, I won't, because I'm like, why am I going to waste my money if I'm not going to put it? But the fulvic humic minerals, chlorella is a great one. That one helps to pull out heavy metals. And when you're taking chlorella, one thing that it's Dr. Chris Shade. He's the one that basically perfected the heavy metal detox, and that's with chlorella and cilantro. But you have to be really, really careful, because if you eat too much cilantro, it actually pulls it out, but then there's nowhere to really attach. That's why you need the chlorella with it. And so it'll come out of your brain, but then it's lodging in your muscles and your bone and your joints, and you just feel really crappy and you're hurt because those heavy metals are being redeposited and reabsorbed. So you got to be really careful whenever you're doing a heavy metal detox, because it can make you really sick. And yeah, the first time I did it, I overdid the cilantro and it made me sick. And so I'd say, for me, I found I'm about 100 pounds. So I take about a handful of cilantro and I'll throw it in like a smoothie with the chlorella, and have, like, I love it with apple juice just because I think apples are really detoxing. And I use the seeds in the apples because they have B17, which is anti-cancer. And you can research that there is actually documentation on that. And then moringa, this one does cure cancer. It is documented that it does cure cancer. There's a book called Miracle Tree by Dr. Monica Marcoux, and she shows how moringa cures cancer, but it also helps to draw shit out of your body. It's one of the most versatile plants besides the mangosteen that basically gives you all the nutrients that your body needs. If you ever need to do a go-to that has everything that you need, either mangosteen with the peel or just moringa, straight up moringa powder. And you can find those easy, simple. I mean, you could use Zija brand if you want to, but then again, it's overpriced. You get 30 packets for $100, or go to Swanson or Amazon and get like a 20 to 30 day supply for like $15. And so I haven't noticed any difference in quality. They all seem about the same. Price is ridiculous. And so, I think these days, fuck the price thing. I'm going to go for what's going to be easy on the pocketbook. And so that's why I definitely try to tell people, like, okay, here's the expensive brand, or you can go with the off brand. And I haven't noticed any difference when I've used it. I feel the same. I still feel like I'm, healthy, strong. But those are the ones that I've had that's been able to help detox my body, as well as my pineal gland, the heavy metal detox, the fluoride detox, detoxing the blood, which dandelion root is great for that. It's got suramin in it, and it's just a blood purifier. And when you take suramin with zinc, it also helps to fortify your immune system. And it's another one of those great things that you can take to battle viruses and things. And those are documented. There's a lot of research on those things, done by, scientists and physicians. And so I'm just speaking on what I've learned for myself, what's helped me. And it's been great so far. It's actually been helping me improve my brain function from foggy brain. And I feel like I understand things a little better, even though I was diagnosed with ADD, the high functioning autism, Asperger's, and Tourette's. I feel like I'm getting things more, and it's been since 2013 that I really started to hunker down and do a lot of those detoxes. I got off big pharma in 2013, January 8th. That was that's my getting off drugs birthday. And then, just you put in the nutrients in my body that I need. So it's really helped.
Yeah, definitely getting off of big pharma is a big thing. It's just a really, really big thing for people, but we don't, you got to take yourself off slowly. I mean, it depends what you're on. Some things you can go cold turkey. I was on the stuff that I could go cold turkey, and I
went
pulled
cold
myself
turkey.
off. Yeah, to cold turkey.
I
Definitely.
had to taper off a few of them because I was on heart medicine. I was on medicine for my liver and kidneys. I was on the methotrexate was a hard one. That's the one for autoimmune. You give a shot in your thigh. I was on antidepressants. Those I had to. The antipsychotics and antidepressants always go with a doctor because you can crash and you can actually go into a suicidal like thing. So you have to be very, very, very careful with antipsychotics, or antidepressants.
Yeah,
Those have to be
I
tapered off a specific way. And so always go with a doctor on that if you're going to be, getting off
yeah,
of those.
that was definitely something I had to actually deal with, even with the doctor's help on those things in the past. It was really, really, really bad. You know,
And opioids is
thinking,
another one.
yeah, yeah, definitely,
Yep.
having suicidal thoughts and things like that, and it can be really, really hard on you, especially when you know that there's one side of you sees nothing wrong, while the other side of you sees everything wrong, and it's a constant struggle and battle. So yeah, it's so when you do have, you know, and any of your chakras aligned, when you have your third eye open, it does help keep you together. So then, I mean, the next major thing is to, the term is keeping yourself grounded. So, do you guys want to touch on what it means to be, grounded? And I don't mean when your parents send you to your room because you got into that chocolate cake
Um,
that you shouldn't have. We're talking a totally different type of grounding, although you can spend some time learning how to ground yourself while you're grounded, but we'll save that one for
and,
another time. So, you guys want to take it in for what it means to be grounded?
well, one thing I wanted to just go back to, you were talking about
Okay.
uh, remove getting yourself off of pharma, and
Oh yeah,
um,
absolutely.
I know uh, you were talking about in tapering. I personally had to. I had to go personally. Had to go cold turkey on it. What I was doing, and because what I was on was Ritalin,
Oh yeah.
and I was on Ritalin for close to 20 years.
Wow.
Or around that. Was it? Man, no, more like 10 years. From 8 until I was actually about 21.
You've only been off of it about 7 years. That's awesome.
But yeah, dealing with that stuff really screws with your head, and that was probably the reason why I went into a very serious depression shortly afterwards. And that's just because of how methamphetamines work. They screw up the neurotransmitters within the brain, and it's a very commonly used treatment for people with learning disabilities, ADD, ADHD, even high functioning autism. As you're saying, they will use these things. Now,
Yeah.
I'm no doctor, but you could definitely tell when you were on and off it. It was
Yeah.
almost night and day.
Wow. I'm really
Uh,
grateful I didn't get on that one. Paxil was
no, well,
enough. Jeez.
I know people who are on. I mean, I know I was jumping around from like 3 different things. I know I the only one I didn't use was the most common, which is Adderall. I never used Adderall, but I did use Concerta at one point. I did use Focalin at one point. Focalin is terrible. From personal knowledge, that is very dangerous, at least for me, because that one is led me to it led me on very well. It was very psychologically damaging for when I was having it. So I'll just leave it at that.
Oh, that's too bad.
But anyways,
Yeah,
let's talk.
a lot of the drugs out there will actually do the opposite of what they're intended to do. You know,
Yeah.
that's big pharma for
Well,
you.
and that's actually why they were created from, and I know this goes into the conspiracy thing, but there's actually research behind it. Dr. John Bergman, I know we talk about quite a bit on here, has done a lot of research with different drugs, different things, and he's like, sick people need drugs, but he's like, if you're going to the doctor and you're hurting, your body is telling you something. And he said part of the problem that he has with a lot of allopathic or Western medicine physicians, or the way that the medicines run, is doctors want to give you a band-aid for something. They want to give you a pill for something or cut it off, when really he's like, okay, if your back is hurting, or maybe, for instance, I'll go for one of the most common ones, carpal tunnel. A lot of people, like on the computer a lot, they start noticing their arms hurting. It goes numb down into the pinkies and the fingers here, and you're just like, God, this just hurts. And then it starts to swell and just hurts everything, and the nerves get really crazy. But he says most of the time, if you actually look at the neck and you go down, you'll notice that the neck is forward facing and it's pulling on the spine and it's pinching those nerves. When you correct your posture and you sit up and you have your head up and your neck is no longer forward facing, and you'll actually see if you go on to John Bergman on YouTube, there's so many videos that he shows the actual his patients x-rays and how he corrects the spine, and he can get rid of, you know, like the nerve damage from carpal tunnel without surgery. He shows you how to correct things through correcting the spine, correcting the gut, correcting, you know, the fauna and flora in the body. And he goes into everything, kind of like the series has been with the mind, body, spirit. He said that the medicine of the future is going to be dealing with the whole person. And so it's not going to be like, oh, you've got this pain going on, let's give you this pill. It's be like, oh, you've got this pain going on. Okay, what kind of stress do you have at your home? And, you know, are you meditating? Are you grounding? And then I'll get into the grounding part in a sec and what that is. You know, and he actually does that with his patients. And he's got well over 90% rate of his patients coming out. He says, I can't say I healed them. He says their body, just like mine is, just like yours is, it's programmed. You know, our great creator created us to heal and regenerate ourselves. I mean, just in so many months, you can have a new liver, a new kidneys, you know, your body's always recycling. And so going back to grounding, the best way I could think is comparing it to your house. If you're not grounded in your house and lightning strikes, it fries everything. And so you've actually got grounding wires that go into the ground that helps to disperse that extra energy. So if you notice, like, God, my body just hurts, take your shoes off and put your bare feet on the ground. Or you can make a grounding mat, which I have on my YouTube page. I've got some videos where it actually shows you can take like a regular steel screen and put like Gorilla Tape on the edges or whatever. I took an alligator clip with a wire, speaker wire, and it was all attached, and I just taped it all up. And then you can either, as long as your house is wired correctly, you can do it this way. But you know how your plug, it looks like a little eyes and a nose. That little nose, that is the ground wire. Don't stick it in the ones that are straight up and down, or you're gonna go eh. So it has to be the grounding plug, and you would stick it into that, and then you put your grounding mat. I have mine actually on my bed at home, and so my legs are on that screen under my sheet. And you can put it on the floor, put your bare feet. This is for cold weather areas. You know, like I'm back and forth in Utah and Idaho. I live in two different places right now where I'm working and living with my kids. And so it gets cold. You don't want to always have your feet in the ice. And so there are different ways that you can ground. You can get, it's like a tape that looks metallic. Like there's copper tape. There's some that's kind of silvery looking. You can wrap a pair of sandals with it. You want to make sure it goes all the way around that sandal, because your bare foot is going to hit one side and then that metal is touching the ground. And so that's another way to ground without putting your bare feet on the ground. If it's really cold, you can do it that way. You can use a pair of slippers or shoes and do the same thing, but having it all the way in the shoe and all the way around. So you want to make sure that that conductivity with your body is able to discharge that excess electricity in the body. So that's basically what we're doing when we're grounding, is we're taking that excess charge, like the lightning bolt hit us, we're stressed out and we're like, oh, all day, like what the crap. And it just takes that and shoots it into the ground. So you can just discharge, and then your body's like, okay, now I'm getting the ionic balance that my body needs, so I'm not so high strung. And that's the way I understand it. I'm, like, I hope that that helps a little bit as far as that goes for you guys.
So when you ground yourself, does that mean that you are, does that mean that, for example, pretend you're growing roots at the bottom of your feet, for example, and connecting to the center of the earth or something like that? Or
That's a
that's
good way
one
to
way?
meditatively do it, like spiritually do it.
Okay.
You still need the physical discharge, but
Okay.
the emotional discharge is definitely, that mind, body, spirit connection. We've got to be
Okay.
able to have all of those. So yeah, touching, even putting your hands on the ground, that'll work as well. Um, from my research, it's suggested at least a minimum of 20 minutes
Oh,
to
okay.
do that in the daytime. So that's why I'm saying, like, if you don't have time, maybe you want to incorporate, excuse me, your exercise with something. So maybe having a pair of tennis shoes done with the electrical tape in it, that grounding tape that's metal, no socks, barefoot in your shoes, if you can handle it, and go for a walk like that. If maybe you're time crunching, or reading a book, if you're, or being on the computer and making your grounding mat and putting your feet on it. There's also metallic fabric that you can buy on Amazon. Excuse me. They do have grounding mats, grounding fabric that you can use as well. So there's a lot of options to grounding for those that work a lot of hours or just don't have time to go out in nature all the time and actually put your bare feet on the ground in the grass. We can use other things, and so there's plenty of options for grounding. There really isn't an excuse for not doing it, except maybe forgetting, or just not being in the habit, or just getting, not being in the routine of it. But it definitely is just as important as drinking water, as eating food, as getting enough sleep, is discharging that excess positive ions. We want to
Yeah,
attract
so
the negative ions.
that's why they want you to, go barefoot outside. And also, you can sit on the side of one of the ways I like to do it, especially when the weather is good, is to sit on the side of one of these bridges where the bridges are low and you sit on the edge and stick your feet in the water, like the river or whatever. And
Yes.
that's one of my favorite ways of grounding.
I love water
Um,
grounding.
yeah, just putting my feet in water, you know. That's so yeah, bare feet, putting your feet in water. Hang out with
You-
the tree.
In
Trees has
extreme cases, I know that there's some people in Alaska that I've seen videos, but there's a lot of indigenous practices. When they would find somebody very ill, what they would do is they would dig a hole in the ground, and they would put the person in the ground and basically cover them. I mean, they would put like straw on them so they weren't just covered in dirt, but they would bury the person and then tend to them, make sure that they're getting the liquids and the things that they need. Um, I'm assuming that they would have an area where they could evacuate their bowels, so you don't have to keep undigging them to go potty. But from the research that I've read on that, these very ill people were able to heal at a rapid pace from whatever their ailment was, just having their full body immersed. So it is some interesting research for those that are interested in it. Look at grounding. I wouldn't do it on Google. I like DuckDuckGo because you actually get a lot more information instead of, it seems like Google likes to,
Do some funny business.
yeah,
yeah.
the funny business. They like to censor everything.
No,
But DuckDuckGo, I've really liked it. It seems like it's got a lot more resources on there. It's good.
one way that I enjoy grounding, I know, and this may be really awesome for people who may not have a more rural environment, but just like a suburban environment, is yard work. Just go outside
Yes,
to your backyard or the front yard, barefoot.
absolutely.
And when it's warm outside, I mean, you have put a nice pair of shorts on, put a t-shirt on, and just be outside. Step outside. Go to if you're gardening, go out in the garden, or go to pick up twigs. Just do whatever you need to do. Occupy yourself for a little bit of time. That's all. It's
Oh, yeah.
not that it's really simple.
You
Uh,
know, thinking about your gardening thing, I wish I could remember all the sources, but there was another grounding thing that I saw that showed potted plants did
yes.
better when you put a wire from the plant into the ground, because otherwise it's in the pot. It's kind of like us in our body where we can't ground ourselves. And so those plants don't do as well. But when you actually put a grounding wire, they do better. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of funny because the way you mention it makes a lot of sense, because if you think about it, the human body itself is a shell. It's not the soul itself exists within, but it's
Right.
not the body itself. And actually, when you see the body decompose, most of the things that really left over is the spinal cord, which is going to be connected to the skull. Everything else, most of everything else decomposes. I mean, minus the bone, of course. And so you're think about it. We've had all that calcium right there, just basically stuck within layers of fat and water and blood, and there's no way for it to discharge unless you ground. There's no way else to do it, because then you're going to be dealing with those high anxiety. You're going to be dealing with that just angst and anything else that would be caused by having an excessive charge.
Right. And that's where Dr. Bergman gets into disease or dis-ease. When we're at a dis-ease or an unease, or our body's unbalanced, that's when we tend to have problems. We tend to feel more, like cruddy, or like right now I've been struggling just because being around the SPIKE protein on everybody that's been shot. It's hard because of the shedding. And I've got Addison's disease, fibromyalgia. I'm just going to lay it out. COPD, asthma. And so I would be considered one of those high risk people, but I can definitely feel it. It's not fun. My body aches more than it did before. But it's like this constant detoxing. You got to drink a butt ton of water. It's not the fun part, because sometimes it's hard to drink. Sometimes you're working and you're like, oh crap, I the last cup of water I had was like 4 hours ago, or so it's kind of, I think, sometimes reminding ourselves we've got to be flushing our bodies and then replenishing the minerals and making sure that it's a flowing system, kind of like your car. If you never change the oil, it's gonna just build up all this shit, and it's gonna become really sludgy, really sluggish, and then eventually it's gonna caramelize. And so just like our bodies, if we're not taking care of them, kind of diabetes is a really good way to think of it this way. When I had type 2 diabetes, and like I would have like really high blood sugars and they'd be over 200, it would just feel like my whole body was just pumping molasses for blood. And when I had really low blood sugar, I'd be like shaking, and I'd hit below like 40 or so. And then it's like you kind of get into this nervous, almost like a, what do you call it? Seizure in a way, kind of a shaky type thing.
Yeah,
But
it's
that's
kind of a sort of anxiety-ish,
right.
Yeah.
So many things. It's just crazy how we got to maintain our bodies, but why would you not want to, if you want to live healthy and strong and feel good? Because there's things that are still gonna nail us. I mean, I work as much as I do on taking boosting my immune system, and I still forget. There's days that I'm like, I know I didn't drink enough today, or I was on my feet for 12 hours. And so taking the time to rest, taking that me time. So on my days off, I take time to go to the spa. I treat my body. I and massage is great because you're actually working the muscle. You're working the lymphatic tissue, you're working the blood, you're working the fluids, you're getting basically breaking up all that shit. And the fascia, anybody that's never really worked the fascia, it hurts, but it's so crazy how much better you feel when you're done, because you've just broken up all that junk that's been collecting, because maybe we're not grounding enough, or maybe we're not eating properly. Like a lot of times it's easy to do. You're on the rush, you're going to get something quick to eat. I've been just as guilty of it, and being like, I don't want to make this morning, I'm just going to hurry up and do this thing. And we've got to detox constantly, because we're being bombarded by things that really just clog our systems.
Which is a lot of stuff, actually.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff to that.
Oh yeah.
So So and it's very important that we take a look at what we eat, take a look at, how we, live out our life. And it is a constant maintenance.
Mm.
And so, I mean, that's where the sluggishness comes in, because when, the Food and Drug Administration introduced their things, they want us to feel sluggish. So we're too tired to care. We're too tired to be careful with ourselves. We're too tired to look at what we need to do in order to keep ourselves going in a proper way. And they do want to try to scare you into thinking, look, you have these organ failures, time to take them out, and things like that. Instead, they can be renewed, they can be fixed, they can, you don't have to get rid of these organs. You can actually fix them, because, I mean, what you think about is the same thing. Our skin on the outside of our body is constantly shedding, it keeps renewing, it keeps, the inside of our body does the same thing. This is not an outside of body thing. So
Well, and the really cool thing, like a lot of physicians will say you can't regenerate cartilage. Once it's done, which is
yeah,
horseshit.
yeah,
My dad,
absolutely.
it's
Yeah.
absolute,
I
it's
know, I got a
absolute
kick out of it when
horseshit.
they told me this stuff.
Well, and
They told me they told me that my liver was done. They told me that my kidneys were done. They said that's it. Time, and I was literally going downhill, and I said, if but I was thinking, well, if the outside of my body regenerates,
right.
why can't the inside? How does that work? So
Mm.
research was done, and I said, oh, I can actually fix the inside of myself too, you
Yeah.
know? So
Well,
it,
and you can regenerate nerves. There's been
yeah.
spinal cords that have been regenerated, that have been severed. I actually helped my dog when he severed his low spine. He's a dachshund. It's actually a common injury that dachshunds can get with the low back. And he was paralyzed on his back legs. It took 45 days, but just with nutrition and mobilization and helping him. And I used some cannabis with him. He had cannabis several times a day just to help with his pain, because I really didn't want to put him on those drugs that the vet was wanting him on. I'm like, there's a natural way. We'll try it. And he did. He's fine. You can't even tell that he's ever been paralyzed. With my left knee in high school, I tore my meniscus. And my dad said, do you want to heal it, or do you want surgery and get a knee replacement by the time you're about 35? And I'm just like, I would rather heal it. And so I took shark cartilage and I did a lot of bone broth. And then, just being easy on it, I stopped taking all non-steroidal anti-inflammatories. That would be like Tylenol, ibuprofen, Aleve, aspirin, any of those things, because what they do is they actually break down your cartilage. And because your body, through the gut, when the gut is healthy, you produce a COX-1 and a COX-2 receptor. There's also, through those, you produce serotonin, you produce glutathione and proteoglycan. And so proteoglycan, what that is that's the building block for our sinew, the building block for our cartilage, the building block for the ends of our bones to relubricate. And so if you're blocking that, then yeah, the doctor's not lying. You can't heal it. Well, fuck you. I'm going to stop taking that shit and heal it. So I don't take those for pain. I take bromelain for pain. That's you can find it in pineapple, or you can just get bromelain capsules. But for the knee, it took several years, but I wasn't strict on it. And with Dr. Bergman, he says you can do any of these in about 90 days. If you're strict, you have to be on it. That's what I did with my cancer whenever I had adrenocorticocarcinoma. It was in stage 3. It took about 90 days. And I juiced. I was taking moringa. I was, excuse me, I was replenishing the nutrients, the minerals in the body. So it's amazing when you actually look at the research and you actually look at the nutrition and you talk to physicians that are, that have been studying this stuff, that are actually reading the journals and not putting them aside because there's stacks of them that they get every week. It's amazing what you can do with your body and heal it. So, yeah.
And they talk about, when you get to a certain age, how people fall and they break their hips, one of the most common injuries and stuff. Now, I just recently fell down the stairs. I
Ouch.
don't think I haven't had that in so long. I've actually got a chance to remember what that felt like. Um,
Oh,
yeah, my knee was hurting and I hit the back of my head on a cement wall. And
mm,
I did the same thing. I did take white willow bark and I also took the pineapple as well. And those things help with the pain. And I also used a crystal, which is something we're going to get into a second here. But I used rhodonite and I put that on my knee and, it healed within maximum 2 days. The
that's
pain was
awesome.
completely gone and like I said, I eat pineapple, so whenever I'm hurting, so you and I both had the same thing with that, and those things will actually, help me get through the pain and everything, and it just works. I was actually feeling better within a couple of days. It wasn't that big a deal, and if you take good care of your body, you won't have to deal with broken hip problems. You won't have to, a fall will just be something that happens, and you can take care of it and just get over it after that.
Right.
It doesn't have to be a hospital visit. It doesn't have to be these crazy surgeries and stuff like that.
Well, and you can
Most.
reverse osteopenia and osteoporosis as well. A lot of people don't realize you can, and that's another absorption problem issue. So you would want to look at the gut, and so if you've got osteopenia, which is basically pre-osteoporosis, then I'd suggest going to your osteopath and say, hey, I kind of want to know what can I do like mineral wise to get my bones to absorb. Is there something with my gut? What about leaky gut? What do you know about that? And I would just drill them on leaky gut, because from my research and my own personal experience, healing the gut has been just, it's nuts. Like I sleep better, I have less body aches, less brain fog. I feel like I'm actually absorbing my nutrients. I don't feel weak. I feel stronger. And so the leaky gut, I mean, that's a big thing. Or parasites is another one. If you're feeling exhausted all the time, you probably have some parasites too. It could be either or. You're not absorbing your food, leaky gut, or a parasite, or both.
So, Alex, do you have anything for that? You want to talk about?
Um,
Add to it?
I don't know. You guys covered that pretty goodly. Pretty well.
That's a big
I
one
know.
that I've studied for years. Is I mean, when you've got so many health problems, you start looking at alternatives.
And on a
I,
spiritual level, that's the reason why we end up with health problems is also so that we can learn these things. I mean, believe it or not, your body actually, your life and your life path, everything that you do in your life and your body and everything in your surroundings, all is literally your classroom, your textbook, and it teaches you things. And this is how you can help other people in the future. So, you can't look at it at the misdeeds and things that happen in your life. You can look at it as this is a learning tool, because maybe someday in the future I'm supposed to help somebody else with this, because the best way you can help is to draw from your own experience.
Right.
you know so as I was talking about crystals, so what do you know about using crystals? I mean, what is the point in that? We know these things, a lot of them definitely grow underground. They've been mined all throughout all over the world. My theory is on crystals, by the way, just to throw this out. It's literally the crystals are put in place exactly where the chakras are on Earth. So and from what I understand, when I'm seeing the pattern is where the crystals grow, is where they're meant for the earth chakras, is where they're meant for ours. So what do you think, Maria? The
I've actually never heard that theory, but it sounds fascinating. I know that with crystals, it's a thing of resonance and vibration, and there's a lot of studies on vibration. Like when you were like, for me, when I sing, it makes me feel good. But you're thinking about, your vocal cords make a vibration, and when you're happy and you're singing, it just kind of vibrates the whole body. I think it's similar with crystals. Each different type of crystal, I mean, it's going to have different types of minerals in them. They're going to have different properties from wherever they were growing or created. Um, and then, the way that they're created. Some are created under hard pressure. Some are created by high heat. I mean, there's so many different types of rocks and crystals. Um, and I think with my own personal understanding of that each one of the vibrations, you've got to match a frequency, kind of like a soprano when she's singing and she hits that high pitch and she shatters the glass. It's because she matched the frequency of that glass and was able to shatter it. And so you're wanting to take those crystals to kind of shatter whatever it is that you're getting rid of. And so, like the pain that you were having when you had fallen and hurt yourself, you were able to find that resonance with your stone that you felt, called to use. And with that resonance, you were able to basically shatter what was going on negative. Sorry, I'm gonna plug it there. It's really low.
Well,
But yeah, it's a frequency thing. And so vibrational frequencies definitely make a difference. And I think even at our chakras, we've got different frequency levels. Like you've got a lower vibration or a lower wave length with like your root chakra, as opposed to at your crown chakra, it's going to be a lot closer together, a lot more vibrational. And so that totally makes sense where you're saying like different chakra points. Be interesting to look at though. I'd like to.
Yeah, it's like where the heart chakra of the earth is where all the heart chakra crystals are growing. And there's many, many different crystals that have to do with the heart chakra, for example. And think that's just an example. So because we're connected to Mother Gaia in the same way, so it actually makes sense that it's like a kind of a sewing weave connect we have between Mother Gaia and us and all the elements that are on this planet. So it makes sense to me anyway.
That's cool. I like that theory.
I know. One of the ways I like to do a lot of these things when you're talking about frequency is I'm not a big crystal person, but I enjoy audio stimuli.
Right.
And so the one thing that tends to resonate very well with me is solfeggio frequencies.
Oh yes.
And these are a select different types of frequencies. The most common that I think most people are familiar with is the frequency of 432 hertz.
Yeah.
432 hertz is very soothing for a lot of people, mainly because of the it's almost natal in nature. It has that same hum as like a mother if they were like rocking a child to sleep. That kind of like that beat when your child, like when you're the child is against the mother's heart and you hear that beat and the hum. All of that's what 432 is kind of be hitting. It's known as the heartbeat frequency. But then there's a whole bunch of different ones that is on top of that. So you have 432, you have 528, you have there's another one, 963 hertz, which once again there's a Tesla number 369. So these are pretty much the exact same thing when it comes to crystals, except this is in audio form.
Just an audio frequency. That makes sense. Which I'm with you. I'm very audio stimulated as well, and I love the vibrational frequencies when I'm meditating, or song, or music, or sorry, somebody I don't know.
Like
I know frequency.
Like I know personally when like right now I'm not feeling great. What I'll do is I'll just like when you're taking a nap, I'll turn on my solfeggios and also start listening to it, and they will just start resonating with the body as your body heals while it's sleeping. It's resonating with the frequencies.
Right.
Supercharging yourself. It's like your phone, right? You know how you have a regular charge, and then some phones have a supercharger where you can charge it much faster.
Right.
That's what happens when you're sleeping, when you have solfeggios right there. Is that you're supercharging the healing process of your body, because its body's not having to do it by itself. There is an outside source of assistance.
Nice. I like that.
So I mean, they used sound therapy for a very long time until A lot of it was kind of put a stop to it.
Right,
And
the right
yeah,
frequencies.
yeah, and there was all sorts of sound therapy, frequency therapy, and even Tesla even touched on all of that as well.
That's what I
And
used for Epstein-Barr when I had that. I used the right frequencies at my naturopath's office, and then it's amazing how it worked. It was really cool.
yeah, and I'm hoping that one day that'll be put into mainstream medicine.
Right.
It's not. It's literally been quietly put around, but it's not
So,
common. There are some naturopathies that know about it and use it, but
so,
it really
sorry.
does work.
So I actually want to tie a lot of this stuff together. We were talking about uh, chakras, and we're also talking about frequencies. Um, there's actually a way to remember which ones are for what. So if we go from the lowest chakra, which is your root chakra, and you can go all the way up to your crown and above. Uh, the way you remember this for frequency is and we're going to do this from bottom up, right? So your lowest note that is usually used for solfeggios is 396 hertz. Going up another is 417, and then you go to 528. Then you go to 639, 741, 852, and 963. And you just follow those numbers up, and they just follow the chakras on top of that.
Yeah, and you can look up actually videos of chakra 7-minute chakra cleanse and things like that. They have all sorts of YouTube videos on how to cleanse it with sound if you need to.
Yeah, and there's even ones where they'll be like, well, if you need focus on a particular chakra, then you'll have a music that's designed just for example, your sacral chakra or your solar plexus. Very useful for beginners. If you're really getting into a lot of these things in the and you want to, and you're not too into a lot of the more complicated topics, this is a fantastic way to get into these things for beginners.
Yeah, that's an excellent idea. Totally recommended.
Well, this is cool. I
So
like this idea that you guys got into. That's really cool. Really
yeah,
cool.
so this is our episode here for since the couple weeks before we kind of went a little bit into the mind and sort of we were talking about Karen, so you guys can look that episode up. It's labeled as Karen, and then we kind of went into the body a little bit, talking about different types of foods and against what the Food and Drug Administration has been up to, and what we can put into our bodies because it's very important. And of course, this episode, a bit about the mind and the spiritual side, and we have it's all tied together. This is not, a separate thing. Everything that we do is actually tied together, wrapped in one. And I'm hoping that since we kind of separated, that would give easy for you guys to, take a look at it and see what works for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm gonna actually provide a link for you guys. That way, if you want to look into this further, the chart I was just talking about, I will give you the link for it so that you guys can look at it at your own free time.
Yeah,
Nice.
and there's also a vibration, chart too that you can look at of how you feel about your body. It's all over the internet. You can look at different spiritual websites, and we can get to that another time. And how you talk about your acceptance and all the way up to enlightenment and all that. So there's these charts that kind of get you gauge of where you are in your frequency of how you handle things in life and every day, both spiritual and physical side.
Awesome.
All right, so that's for this episode. And anybody will have anything else to wrap up with?
I
Nope.
think we've
Good.
had quite a bit of discussion on it. It's really, really awesome. So yeah, I think it's a great place to wrap up for everybody. So yeah.
I think we're good. Yeah.
Well, it was
Yeah,
good
yeah,
to
that's okay.
talk
So
with you guys and
yeah,
meet.
thanks for everybody for coming. I thank you,
Great.
Amaria.
Awesome. Absolutely.
Thank you, Alex, and I want to thank Katie.
Absolutely.
Definitely, yeah,
We love
we wouldn't have a leg to stand on without her.
Thank you so
I
much.
also want to thank Dr. Bloom. I know he may not be here, but I always enjoy his insightful knowledge.
Yes, absolutely. I love his
But
knowledge.
hey guys, thank you
Well,
guys for
good.
joining
All
us.
right, thank you guys, and we'll